Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It's been a wild 2 to 3 days for Antonio Brown for the Oakland Raiders, and really fantasy football, the football community as the season approaches. As I shoot this right now, it is 7:35 p.m. East Coast time, Saturday, September 7th. So the season is starting tomorrow, right? We're not too far away from the season. Realistically, we're like 16, 18 hours away from the season. And as you can see over my shoulder, Antonio Brown's most recent Instagram picture created by Bleacher Report has Antonio Brown as a New England Patriot. News is crazy. Antonio Brown is a New England Patriot. That is nuts. So we're going to go through the fantasy implications, what I think is going to be the fallout in Oakland, what I think is now coming to New England in terms of Antonio Brown, the impact there, and what you should be doing in season-long leagues. First of all, welcome, like I said, to the channel. My name is Sal Vetri. I do cover daily fantasy sports. I do cover fantasy sports for season-long. Very excited to be here. If you could hit me with the subscribe button if you get any value from this video, greatly appreciate it. Hoping that this video can reach new audiences as it is more of a breaking news / impact video rather than some of the daily fantasy sports videos that I usually create. So, with that said, the impact on Antonio Brown leaving the Oakland Raiders, and hitting everything over. Yeah, him leaving the Raiders is huge. It's obviously going to make this offense really inept, if it wasn't already. I mean, Antonio Brown spreading out the field, allowing for other players like a Tyrell Williams, who has been a very good number 2 wide receiver his entire career, wherever he's been, now allowing him to be a number 1 wide receiver. I'm not all that hyped up about it. Now, look, if Tyrell Williams is on your waiver wire, yeah, sure, grab him. There's probably a great shot that he's better than anybody else that you have on your bench, or at least one player on your bench. If you're rostering 2 tight ends on your bench, 2 kickers or 2 defenses, yeah, drop those immediately. You don't need those dusty old players. Get some more high upside wide receivers and running backs. So Tyrell Williams, yeah, he's okay. Nothing stands out. Honestly, everything else, though, is scary. Darren Waller, the rookie tight end who's getting a lot of hype, that's fine because tight end's such a terrible position. But the middle of the field now isn't going to be as cleared out for him if he actually starts to produce, as it would be with Antonio Brown on the outside. Josh Jacobs, I would be terrified at owning Josh Jacobs right now. This is a guy who was going to kind of rely on a guy like Brown and Tyrell Williams in an offense that looked pretty good to solid with Derek Carr, now a couple of years removed from an injury, coming and not having to rely on 8-man fronts. If Josh Jacobs is going to be the most dangerous player on this team, as it very much seems like he will now with no AB, it's very easy for a defense to load the box with 8. I would not be shocked if the Oakland Raiders faced top 5 in terms of the amount of 8-man boxes they were going to see. Now, another name to kind of keep in mind is Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is only a deep league option, in my opinion. The rookie wide receiver out of Clemson. He secured a spot early on in the slot, which is very rare for a rookie wide receiver. And rookies, if you're in the slot in general, and not just being a rookie, but in general, it's a very good spot to be. So he's an interesting spot. I personally added him in my 2 deeper leagues, a 20-man league and a 14-man league. I added Hunter Renfrow. I just dropped some backup running back handcuff situation because Renfrow, if anything, for PPR formats only, if he gets peppered with targets and as a rookie, we don't know what to expect. So I kind of want to bet on some of that volatility and uncertainty. Never going to be a huge upside player, similar to what you would expect out of maybe a Cole Beasley, to a lesser extent Adam Humphries. Humphries running more intermediate routes, but Hunter Renfrow would compare very similar to a Cole Beasley, in my opinion, in terms of route running, in terms of the amounts, depth of his routes that he would be getting, his average depth of target that he would be seeing. So the Oakland situation is disgusting. I honestly don't have any interest in anybody outside of Hunter Renfrow in deep leagues. Derek Carr, no shot now. Tyrell Williams, he's not starting viable in my opinion. He was fine without Antonio Brown in his career starts when he's had at least 8 targets per Matthew Berry on Twitter. He's been very good, but he's also never been a number 1 wide receiver and had to face number 1 cornerbacks, had to face potential safety help coverage on a Tyrell Williams, which sounds crazy, but if you're going to do it to anybody, you would do it to him. So Oakland's just an absolute garbage fest. If you're owning players there, I'd be very scared. I would try to get just rid of Josh Jacobs right now, honestly. That offense is going to be absolutely inept in terms of getting red zone touches and red zone carries and touchdown upside for Jacobs. 50% of that, if not more, just went out the window for him with Antonio Brown, a guy who can move the chains, can actually get you closer to the end zone in one play, is now gone. They don't have that same upside there anymore. And now, as you see, he's moving to the Patriots. And this is huge. It's probably underrated how thin this wide receivers Patriot depth was. And them getting Josh Gordon back helped that out so much. It took them to another tier in terms of the levels of talent that they had at the wide receiver position, and it still was bad, right? You have Julian Edelman, great, fantastic slot receiver, one of the best slot receivers in the league in terms of being purely in the slot most of the time. He's fantastic. Then you get Josh Gordon news that he's going to be back, ready for week 1, off the suspension list. He's reinstated. That's fantastic. He's on the outside, been removed from football. There's talk of him potentially being limited to start the season, just a game or 2, but even then, you still have a very good talent on the outside. After that, though, they cut and re-signed Demaryius Thomas. He's an old dusty can who his only upside the last 2 years was really being able to catch the jump ball. And now due to injuries, he can't catch the jump ball. So he's really just a body out there because they need wide receivers. They have Philip Dorsett, who, in my opinion, his fast burner years are still there somewhat, but they're gone. He left those in Indy in terms of just overall peak years for his speed and upside. He seemed to be a decent target for Tom Brady last year towards the end of the season, and in the preseason got a lot of looks from Brady, but it was kind of forced that way, right? You didn't have some players playing. Julian Edelman's in the slot. Josh Gordon was not active at that time. Philip Dorsett tore a lot of targets, so kind of don't read into that too much. After that, you have the rookie Jacoby Myers, the fifth wide receiver, at least until AB got there on the roster. There was some upside, especially with Demaryius Thomas facing some injuries, probably not playing tomorrow night, potentially with Josh Gordon being limited, that you see a lot of Jacoby Myers, the rookie who lit up the preseason. For the whole season long, in terms of dynasties, I like Jacoby Myers. But now at AB there, he comes in as, without a doubt, the number one overall receiver. If you factor in Tom Brady's connection with Edelman, I would argue that Edelman in the slot is still the number one wide receiver, is still probably the best receiver on that overall team. It's also going to help Josh Gordon to an extent. Look, the target share in terms of seeing 8, 9, 10 targets won't be there for Gordon, but neither will the insane coverages that he'll have to face. So this depth on this Patriots team just went through the roof in terms of wide receivers, in terms of talent, when you factor in James White in the backfield, Sony Michel, the rookie Damian Harris, who has looked good out of Alabama, loads of ravings there. You know, Alabama running backs will usually produce in the NFL, or at least have the opportunity to. So this offense looks great. Antonio Brown individually, his stock, if you own him, trade him. Simple as that. If you own Antonio Brown right now, this is as peak as it gets. Everybody's saying, oh my God, AB's on the Patriots. Tom Brady to AB, the best combination ever. Everybody is thinking just overreactions right now. Take advantage of that. I do not think you can go out and get Davante Adams, who just had a stinker in week 1 of the NFL season on Thursday night. And it really wasn't a stinker. Still targeted 8 times, caught a couple of balls. It was just an overall bad game. Just terrible offenses on both sides and some really good defenses, at least for week 1. Not terrible for the season, just for week 1. He didn't play well. Go get some doofus in your league, some donkey, and say, hey, I'll give you AB, who's now Tom Brady's number one target, for Davante just looked terrible, man. Go get him. I don't know if a lot of people fall for that. Maybe 1 out of 5 people do. If you're that one getting lucky, go do it. Trade Antonio Brown as fast as you can, because don't gloss over the fact that this guy has an injury. He's hitting a wall in terms of his age. He's above 30 years old now, and a foot injury that is not yet healed. It is not exactly frostbite, but it's something very similar, according to Dr. Chow, an NFL former doctor, still treats patients in the NFL. Now he's just more of an analyst, which is pretty cool. And he said that it's very similar to frostbite, but not frostbite, but actually worse than frostbite. This is something that might linger with him all season. And he's a wide receiver, and it's on his foot. Don't let that kind of go out the window. Also, taking into account that this man's, 31 years old now, don't let that go out the window. So AB is very much still, in terms of his body shape and his regimen for preparing for the season, it might be the best in the league as a wide receiver. So I don't think his age is as big of a factor as other wide receivers at his age point, right? In terms of his skill level dropping off the face of the earth at the 30-year-old wall. But at the same time, he's getting there, if not right now. There are still mouths to feed out there now that you have Edelman still going to get a lot of targets peppered to him in the slot, Gordon on the outside, and this Patriots team wants to kind of remain run first. Sony Michel, they said they want to feed him this year. James White out of the backfield. So Antonio Brown is not entering. This is probably a better offense than he ever had in Pittsburgh, if you're not talking about scheme-wise, but even then maybe, just in terms of overall weapons. So you're getting an older Antonio Brown who's dealing with an injury, who right now has the most attention on him in fantasy land, in NFL land, and just the news for sports in general. Go trade Antonio Brown, get a top-tier running back, get a top-tier wide receiver like Davante Adams, and don't be afraid to pair somebody else in. Trade Antonio Brown and like a backup running back or your like RB3 running back for Davante Adams. Antonio Brown was going as a 3rd-round pick. In my opinion, that was too high. I wouldn't touch Antonio Brown's like the 5th round. I know that's very bold. I know it's very excessive, but now that he's out of Oakland, of course, it's a different story. But in Oakland, it's a big drop-off at quarterback, the foot injury, lots of things going on there, the age. Just in general, I wouldn't have touched him. If you can trade him and pair him with a later round pick for a 1st or 2nd round pick at running back or wide receiver, go and do it right now. So that's the quick fire analysis on this. I don't want to be an overhyped machine. I do not think Antonio Brown is going to have an insane year out there in Pittsburgh, nowhere near as much as other people do. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be okay. I think he will warrant a 3rd or 4th round pick for sure. But if right now you can take advantage of some of your league owners and go out there and get him for a 1st round pick or a early 2nd round pick, go ahead and do that. People are going to fall for it and think that Antonio Brown's going to have 1,500 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns in this offense and over 100 catches. That's not happening. The 100 catches might. That's maybe. The rest isn't happening. So that's it for right now. Antonio Brown is a New England Patriot. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Sal Vetri. If you could hit the subscribe button before you leave, I appreciate that very much. And also, at the exact same time, Let me know. Follow me on Twitter at SalVetriDFS and let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. My name's Sal. The season starts tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this. Maybe it's later. Maybe the season already started. Maybe you're kicking up right now watching the games. I hope you're having a ton of fun. Thank you so much. Peace out.
Hey, hold up. 1 second. Check out this page. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button, all right? And if you're interested in Patreon, if you're not already a Patreon, you can hit that button on Patreon, become a Patreon. It will take you right there. You can also check me out on Twitter at SalVetriDFS. And hey, if you're interested, this next video that's about to pop up, why don't you check it out as well. See ya.